This is how to make a double crochet woven scarf. It's a very simple pattern. The pattern is based on 4 plus 3. So for my little sample here, I'm using 4 twice, so that's 8 plus 3 is 11. Now to begin, I'm going to begin with a single crochet row, and I'm going to be working through the back loop of my chain foundation. I'm going to skip the first and insert my hook under that back loop of my chain, do a yarn over, pull through. I've got 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through for my first single crochet. And the reason I'm working through those back loops is because I want the other side to have that nice finished chain look, and that way I don't have to add an edging to my scarf. Both ends will have this nice finished chain loop. Now I can see the back loop by holding it sideways, so I have no problem finding it. However, if you do have a problem, Lily Chin has a very nice technique she uses in her videos and undoubtedly in her books, where she shows you how to weave through as you're working, as you're doing your foundation chain, another piece of different colored yarn, so you're able to find that back loop more easily. And you'll notice I just left a long tail on my chain because there's no reason to weave it in, since I'll be adding fringe or tassels at the end of my project. So we'll just do a few more here. We're working through that back loop, inserting the hook, doing a yarn over, pulling it through, inserting into the back loop, yarn over, pull through, and as I work a couple more, this is a really good project for using up your stash yarn. I usually, since I'm using mostly baby yarn, I've been using mostly a light number 3 weight yarn with an H hook. Even though the yarn calls for a G, I want it soft, so I've been using an H hook. The yarn I'm using for the sample here is a medium 4. I was hoping it would be a little bit easier to see, and I'm using an H hook. However, if I was making this for real using this yarn, I might even bump it up to an I, because you want it to be very soft and flexible, the fabric that you end up with. And as I said, it's very good for using up your stash, because you can use a single color for the foundation and then weave with multiple colors, or you can use multiple colors to do your foundation and have it striped or whatever the design is. Now the pattern again is very simple. We're going to chain 3 because it's all going to be double crochets. Turn. Now that first chain 3 is my first stitch, so I'm not going to work into the first stitch. Instead, I'm going to do my yarn over, insert into the top 2 loops of my foundation single crochet, yarn over, pull it through. I've got 3 loops on my hook now. Yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And I'll do a couple more of those. Insert your hook under the 2 top loops, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And I'll do one more. It's just a basic double crochet. And you continue in that pattern. When you get to the end, chain 3 and turn, and just continue in that pattern until your scarf is as wide as you want it to be. And then your last row, do another single crochet row. So that way you'll have single crochet rows on each edge and double crochet patterns in between. Now the mesh by itself is very attractive. I have it here. So it by itself could be a nice scarf, and all you'd have to do is add some fringe or tassels to the end. If you need to know how to make tassels, I have a video showing you how to do that. However, it does make a nice project to weave through, and this first one here I was showing is a very basic weave. And what's nice about this is if you have decorative yarn, maybe a skein or a half of a skein, and it just isn't enough to make anything, it really adds a nice touch to a project like this. And that's what I have here, a very elaborate decorative yarn, but it was only one skein, so I had enough to do 2 scarves with. And the basic weave is over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2. And then when you get to the next row, you just alternate it. I did under 2, over 2, under 2, over 2. And you come out with this kind of brick looking design. Another way to do it is to work a diagonal weave. So that's going to give you a little different look to your pattern. And this is, of course, with the same yarn. Now with the diagonal weave, you can see I was going under and over 3 double crochets. And while you're working it, I'm going to show you this one that I'm working on now. It's a little bit, well, not difficult, but you have to kind of watch. The first row I just did over 3, under 3. And after that row, for me, I usually go back. I don't start at the very edge. I go back here, and I know I'm going to have to move these 3 over 1. So that's where I start my, I need that to be 3, so I go over, I weave it that way, and then pull my yarn through, because your edge is going to be different on these. It's not going to be the same. So say for this next row here, I'm going, okay, there's my 3 here, but I need to move it over 1, so I'm going to go under these 3, so I have that pattern here working. Then I go over 3, under 3, over 3, and I would just take my yarn then. For this particular one, I'm working with 3 strands, but of course you could use, depending on the yarn, 1 if it's a very thick yarn, or more than that. And you'll be able to tell right away that you're doing it properly, because you start to see. It's a little clearer in this one. You start to see that pattern. You've got the 3 double crochets that are showing, coming down at an angle, and then the 3 you go over are slanting down at an angle also. When you're finished, again, adding a fringe or tassels to the end, and with this one, because it's staggered, you will add them to the last row just like you normally would, and you'll just see that some of your lines there are going to be staggered. It's not going to be as even as the other one, but still it's going to have a very nice finish on it when you get those tassels in place. If you would like written instructions or to see a written pattern for this, just go to simpleandsensational.com. At the lower right on the page is the site map. Click on the site map, and that will take you to several free patterns.